You didn't get here by chance. It wasn't the algorithm. It wasn't some random click in the middle of the night. If you are watching this video right now, it's because over the last 3 days, something inside you has begun to move in a way you still can't quite name. A silent restlessness, as if an old thought had returned without asking permission. A feeling that something is about to happen, even if nothing is happening on the outside. A weariness that isn't of the body, but of the soul. You wake up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason, stare at the ceiling, and feel that some decision is knocking on the door of your consciousness, waiting for you to open it. And that is exactly what this video has come to warn you about. Between August 26th and 28th, the full moon inaugurates an energetic window that will force to the surface everything you have been trying to swallow, postpone, or justify. This isn't pretty mysticism. It's not a Hallmark card phrase. It is a mechanism that has already begun to operate within you. And starting today, I'm going to show you point by point what to do with this energy before it passes, and you look back realizing you missed the chance to turn the page of your life. The full moon between August 26th and 28th functions as an inner countdown. It's not the celestial body in the sky that performs magic. It's what it symbolizes inside you. A rising energy that pushes emotions, thoughts, and priorities to the surface of consciousness, like a tide that rises slowly until the water no longer fits in the glass. Change doesn't have to manifest as a spectacular event. Most of the time it arrives as a truth you can no longer pretend you don't know. A decision you've been putting off for months that now begins to ache in your body. A silent discomfort that becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. You might be driving, taking a shower, answering a random message, and out of nowhere, a clear thought emerges. This isn't for me anymore. And that is where most people make their first mistake. Most will feel this energy and blame it on exhaustion, work, PMS, the weather, the boss, the partner. They will bury the information under a Netflix series, under an infinite scroll on their phone, under another glass of wine. And when the window closes on the 29th, these people will remain exactly where they were. Not you. You are part of the minority that recognizes the signal when it arrives, who has the internal infrastructure to use the full moon as a mirror, and not just another day on the calendar. The first signs never arrive like a bolt of light descending from the sky. They arrive as emotional contrast, that thought that insists on returning, even when you try to push it away. A sudden loss of interest in something that used to give you pleasure, as if the glow had simply left the object. The need to distance yourself from people you love, without knowing exactly how to explain why. A disproportionate irritation at a small phrase that, at any other moment, you would have ignored. The insistent return of a project you had already tucked away in a drawer, as if it were knocking from inside the furniture, asking to come out again. A recurring dream. A song you hear 3 times in different places on the same day. A person who appears out of nowhere in your thoughts and the next day sends a message. The key is not to interpret every sensation as a message from the universe. That is what the crowd does, and that is why the crowd lives running in circles thinking everything is a sign and doing nothing with any of them. What the spiritual elite does is observe which emotions and which subjects remain when the external noise subsides. When you sit in silence without a phone, without stimulus, without distraction, what keeps knocking? Which thought won't go away? Which image refuses to leave your head? That is the real sign. The rest is noise. And it is exactly here that I need to tell you something. Because if you have reached this point in the video, it's because something I described hit home. And if this energy has already begun to move within you, feeling it is not enough. Feeling without structure is what makes millions of people live their whole lives intuiting powerful truths and never managing to transform them into practical direction. That is exactly why I prepared Magia M28 Exercicios as 28 Chaves du Despertar, a guided 28-day journey, a complete lunar cycle made for those who feel lost, different, or overwhelmed and no longer want to waste every energetic window thinking it will come back later. This isn't a theoretical course. It is an architecture of daily exercises that transforms your restlessness into language, your shadow into clarity, your signs into decisions, and your consciousness into concrete direction. While this full moon is rising, you can cross the next 28 days with a map in your hands, or you can cross fumbling in the dark, waiting for the next portal. The link in the first pinned comment takes you straight to the complete structure. And if you already feel that this video didn't appear to you by chance, leave the word Desperta in the comments now. This is your energetic signature. This word will mark, in your own field, that you recognize the moment the invitation arrived. Returning to what is happening inside you these days. The energy of the full moon creates nothing new. It exposes what was already present. This distinction changes everything. The emotional intensification you have been feeling can reveal repeated dynamics in relationships, in responsibilities, in decisions that previously seemed absolutely normal and that now begin to suffocate you. An out-of-line argument with someone close, an annoying delay in something that was always tolerable, a strong reaction to a small phrase, a reaction so disproportionate that you yourself are startled. None of this is the central problem. None of this is the reason. This is the visible surface of something deeper that the full moon is bringing to light. The argument is a symptom of an absent boundary you should have set 3 years ago. The delay is a symptom of an unbalanced load you've been carrying alone that no one asked to share with you. The strong reaction is a symptom of a need of yours that has gone years without being recognized, neither by those by your side nor by yourself. When you understand this, you stop fighting the symptom and start looking at the root. And it is the root that the full moon came to illuminate, not the noise, not the drama, the structure beneath the drama. We have reached August 26th. From here, the phase of revelation and verification officially begins. This means something very specific. Everything that until yesterday was just intuition, just a vague sensation, just an "I think that," now begins to demand concrete proof. Not proof from the universe, proof from real life. Words that were said or were not said, behaviors that repeat when no one is looking, material conditions you had been ignoring, silences that say more than any argument, numbers in your bank account, commitments that were made and are or are not being fulfilled. The energy of this moment does not invite you to react on impulse. That is the trap of the crowd. The crowd feels the intensity of the full moon, panics, sends messages in the middle of the night, ends relationships in the heat of the moment, quits jobs without thinking, makes social media posts they will regret the next day. You, if you belong to the minority this video came to find, do the opposite. You separate perception from evidence. You write down on paper or in your head what your intuition is screaming and then check calmly which of those screams still makes sense when the emotion subsides. What remains after the storm is truth. What evaporates was just the wind passing through an old wound. And here enters the most important difference you need to learn in this window, because it is what separates those who transform their lives from those who only suffer and return to the starting point. A portal is not an astronomical event. A portal is the exact turning point where the cost of remaining stuck in your current life becomes greater than the terror of taking the next step. It is not the universe that opens the door for you. You take the step first, and only then does the ground appear. Never before. The full moon is not going to solve anything for you. It's only going to make it impossible to keep pretending. And that is where your true responsibility begins. Because knowing the truth without acting upon it is worse than not knowing. Those who don't know live in peace in their ignorance. Those who know and do not act live torn apart inside every day, knowing exactly what they need to do and choosing again and again not to do it. This is the worst form of spiritual suffering there is. August 27th comes precisely to test the difference between real intuition and anxiety disguised as intuition. This is one of the most brutal tests of the entire lunar cycle, and most people fail. The intensity preceding the peak of the full moon creates a massive temptation to turn every little thing into a definitive sign. A delayed response becomes, "He doesn't love me anymore." A coincidence in time becomes, "This is a calling from the universe." An old message that appears becomes, "It's the sign that I should go back." A repeated license plate becomes, "It's the confirmation that I should move cities." This is not intuition. This is your hyperactive nervous system looking for patterns everywhere to manage to rest from uncertainty. The true challenge of the 27th is not to feed the internal drama. A real intuition, a sign that actually came to turn the key of your life, has 3 characteristics you need to memorize. First, it shows a recognizable pattern. It is not an isolated episode. Second, it affects a real priority of your life, not a passing curiosity. Third, it remains relevant even after you take a deep breath, sleep, eat, and regain emotional calm. If the sensation evaporated when you woke up the next day rested, it wasn't a sign. It was just the energy of the full moon stirring up old sediment. If the sensation is still there, steady, 3 days later when you are no longer at the emotional peak, you have a truth in your hands. And truth demands action. On August 28th, the full moon reaches its culminating point. Complete illumination, symbolically and also literally within you. That which was fragmented, that which you saw in loose pieces and couldn't put together, begins to organize into a single sharp image. It could be a relationship you've known for a long time wasn't working, but that now appears with surgical clarity, leaving no room for internal negotiation. It could be a professional opportunity you've been putting off deciding on that now presents itself with all consequences on display. It could be an old identity, a version of you that still walks around wearing your clothes, living at your address, keeping your schedule, but that internally has already died. It could be a way of living, a routine, a circle of friends, a pattern of consumption, a family dynamic, something that still exists externally but that internally has already completely lost its place. It is uncomfortable. It is beautiful and painful at the same time, because seeing means no longer being able to pretend. And no longer being able to pretend means that from now on every choice you make to remain within, that will be a conscious choice, and no longer inertia. And conscious choice charges a much higher price than inertia ever did. Now listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you, because this is the part that will define if this full moon will pass as just another one, or if it will mark a before and after in your story. You have already understood that the energy is here. You have already understood that it is exposing truths. You have already understood that feeling alone is not enough. What you need from now on is the structure to cross the next 28 days without getting lost in the middle of the revelation. That is what Magia M28 exercicios, as 28 chaves du despertar exists for. Each of the 28 keys is a practical exercise, made to be applied day after day, exactly during a complete lunar cycle, which is the biological and symbolic time your internal field needs to integrate a new truth without regressing. It is not passive reading, it is daily movement. It is recognizing the signs of your soul, integrating the shadow that the full moon just exposed, transforming restlessness into concrete decision and consciousness into sustained direction. While the crowd will spend the next 4 weeks oscillating between insight and forgetfulness, you can spend those same 4 weeks building a new internal structure, key by key, day by day. The link is in the first pinned comment. If you let this specific window pass, the next one only opens an entire cycle from now, and an entire cycle from now will you still be there. Because the truth no one tells you is that real transformation doesn't begin at the moment of revelation. The revelation is just the beginning. The true transformation begins afterward, the next day, when the emotional intensity has already subsided and you are left alone with what you saw. The full moon doesn't ask you for immediate, irreversible decisions. That is soap opera fantasy. What it asks of you is something much harder and much rarer, to name with absolute honesty what became visible. Without euphemism, without buts, without maybe one day. To name it out loud to yourself what you now know, and then take a proportional first step, not the final step, the first step, a conversation that needs to happen, a boundary that needs to be set, money that needs to be saved, a forgiveness that needs to be given or received, a small decision that signals to your internal field that you took the information the full moon delivered to you seriously. During the following days and weeks, the test is only one. Does this clarity remain in everyday life? If it continues to be present without needing intensity, without needing external stimulus, without needing a mystical sign to reappear, then it is a new sustained direction. And sustained direction needs to be surrounded by boundaries, by decisions, and by concrete actions, or it returns to the same old circle in less than 30 days. That is why the complete cycle matters. That is why 28 days matter. Because 3 days of revelation without 28 days of integration is just another pretty episode in the story of someone who feels much and transforms little. If you have made it this far, you are not that person. You are of the minority. You are of the lineage that sees the portal while it is still open. So I need to ask you something directly now. No beating around the bush. The link in the first pinned comment is the bridge. On one side of the bridge is the version of you that watched this video, felt everything, agreed with everything, and will close the app in a bit, hoping that next time will be different. On the other side is the version of you that crossed the full moon with structure, finished the 28-day lunar cycle at another internal level, and never again depended on an external portal to take the next step. Only one of those two versions will exist a month from now. Who chooses which one is you now in the next few minutes, with a concrete action? Not tomorrow, not after the full moon passes. Now. And if this video, this specific transmission, crossed the ocean of random content from the algorithm and reached you exactly in this window, write in the comments now, in capital letters, the phrase EU riconhezzi a Janella. This is the signature of someone who understood they didn't end up here by accident. And if you are not subscribed to this channel yet, you need to understand something. Every video here is a coordinate of a larger map. They are not random videos. They are not independent content. It is a sequence stitched together within the energetic year, within the portals that open and close on specific dates, within the windows that most people don't notice. If you are not subscribed, you will receive loose pieces of the map, and a loose piece takes you nowhere. The next videos coming out here show exactly what happens after this full moon, what will come in September, what the following windows are, and how each one connects to the next. Missing the sequence is missing the context, and missing the context is returning to the dark. Ring the bell, mark the channel as a favorite, do whatever you need to do to not miss the next coordinates. What you heard today was just the preparation, the full revelation of what this full moon means for your next timeline, the step-by-step of what to do on the 29th, 30th and 31st, so as not to waste everything that was activated now. And the real reason why you were chosen to cross this specific cycle is in the next video, the one appearing now on your screen. Click on it. The first 60 seconds will reorganize everything you just heard here, and you will understand, in Minute 1, that this video that just ended was only the front door. What comes next is the hallway.